You're listening to the New World to Go podcast with your hosts, Redbyrd and BDLG.
Hello and welcome to another episode of New World to Go. I'm your host, Redbyrd, and with me is BDLG.
Yo, what's up?
And a guest. We have a guest for you guys. This is our 50th episode, if you're wondering the occasion of having an extra person on. I think we've only done this, 2 other times? So the Taken's the third guest. And of course, I already ruined the surprise. It's Taken, our buddy Taken. From
lead into that one.
Yeah, that was the best hype possible. Taken is our buddy. He is the founder or the creator of New World Fans. I'm sure most of you are familiar with this website. We talk about it on every episode at this point in the history of the show, and we have him on. He is one of our good friends, one of our partners, and for the 50th episode, we definitely wanted to have him on the show, and we're going to talk to you guys about whatever we want, because it's it's Taken. Technically, it's part of his show too. So, Taken, welcome to the show, brother.
Yo, thanks. Pretty excited. It's been a long time coming, I think.
Yeah, man. We have tried to get you on numerous times, and you always tell us, no, I'm not going to come on with you.
You do it in the middle of the night.
That's true. We do have it's funny, and I think maybe we've talked about this a little bit on the show. There's quite a time difference between us and Taken. Taken, you live in Spain.
Yeah.
Barcelona specifically, right?
Yes.
And so we have our meetings, or our company meetings at 2 a.m. or 1 a.m. on our time all the time. And so, very productive meetings. We get a lot done. I rant for sure most of the time because of how tired I am, I think, during the meetings. So, but dude, it's good to have you. It's a nice time, I think, for all of us. I mean, you're probably getting ready for bed, but we're recording this in the middle of the afternoon. So welcome to Taken, and let's hop right in here.
Welcome to Taken.
Welcome. What does that mean?
No, you're good. Let's go.
Okay, thank you. All right, so New World Fans. Taken, so why don't we give a little bit of, I guess, an introduction to how we got introduced to each other. We were both, me and Bordy were working on Studio Loot, which was a website that was supposed to be about New World, until it is technically, and you were working on New World Fans. But why don't you tell people a little bit about how you started New World Fans? And
if I remember correctly, it was in between the original alpha in 2019 and when they announced the new direction for the game and the release date and everything, which was in December, I think, or January. I think New World Fans launched around September as like a WordPress blog almost. And I redid it pretty quickly into something built completely from scratch on a custom built platform. And I think the first few things I did was the Discord bot, which is still running pretty strong on almost 800 servers now. And I think the dev tracker and the company index, which has like 400 companies now.
Yeah.
So those were like the big things I launched with. And since then, I think I've added the database, which has like all the quests, all the items, everything you can pretty much search for directly from the game, the map, the build tool, and I forget the rest. But yeah, that's pretty much the website.
Yeah, so I was going to try to get some specific numbers to everybody. I think we've... so every week when we do our Company of the Week, it is from New World Fans, obviously. We talk about that. Total, we have, let's see, is there a way to, the numbers are definitely at the top of the homepage on how many people, or it used to be. It's not there anymore.
No, I took that off because the Discord JS, which the bot is based on, changed something, so you can't see the users anymore, or not easily. But the servers I have, I check it sometimes. It's almost 800.
800, that's insane. So if you guys were, I'm sure a lot of you played during the preview event. You probably use the map, the everything you need to know about New World post. There are a bunch of things that are pretty frequently used things on site New World fans. And of course, our plans are to keep that updated for you guys for as far as tools, tips, guides, news, everything New World. Dude, it's been fun, man. Since we were we've been on the grind for quite some time for New World content and the episode or the website and everything like that. And it's been a pleasure working with you, dude. I can say that firsthand. It's good to call you a friend, obviously. And dude, we're all excited about New World here. And that's kind of going to segue into our next topic, which is why we chose New World. And maybe, Bordy, why don't you go first? And we can kind of chime in on each other's, I guess, discussions at this point as well.
So my answer is about to trigger a whole lot of people. I'm just going to go ahead and say that up front. So the reason I chose New World was because it was an open world survival style, full PvP, full loot MMO. That's why I made the pivot over to New World to begin with, because I wanted a full loot PvP, heavily PvP involved MMO, because there's just not a lot of those out there. So I played it. I got really heavily invested in it in I guess the very first alpha. And then I really enjoyed it, man. I enjoyed the environment. I enjoyed the combat. I enjoyed the style. So then, we just stuck with it throughout the transition of going from full loot PvP to more of a traditional style MMO, which is fine because I still definitely enjoy the game. I enjoyed the preview event a whole lot. And so I guess overall what keeps me involved and interested in New World and interested in this project is the environment and the combat of the game. It's just incredibly unique. And so that's why I stuck with it, man. I enjoyed it a lot.
Good. Yeah, you literally, I thought we were going to be over that. I thought, the New World community had moved past, the whole open world sandbox PvP thing, but no, Bordy continues to bring it up on the...
I just lit another fire. Listen, dude, it's not that I'm not over it. I'm over it. If I wasn't over it, I wouldn't be playing the game still. You asked why I started getting involved in New World, and that's why.
Yeah.
That's what caught my attention. I followed it from the very beginning, man, and just stuck with it. I like it. The combat environment, dope.
Agreed. Taken. How about you, brother? Why did you get interested in a open world sandbox PvP game?
Yeah, fairly similar story, I think.
See?
For me, well, first of all, the timing for me was pretty much perfect because I was, I was doing some other websites in the past for like Guild Wars, Rift, and a bunch of other games. And then I moved abroad. I couldn't play anything anymore for a very long time. And just when I moved back was pretty much this time. So this was the next MMO on the horizon. And for my guild that I've been with since, I think, 2007, these type of games, like open world, sandbox, PvP, territory control is pretty much what we do. And we're not ganking newbies on the beach or anything. We just like politics. We like building our city or fortress, whatever you can build in the game. We like having at least the option of open world PvP where you can just attack someone freely. And I think what New World started doing perfectly at the beginning was having actual consequence to that, to attacking other players, as opposed to faction-based games, which it is now. So where you basically see someone from the other faction, he's flagged up, you're flagged up, you kill them. There's just, it's no consequence to doing that. So that's something I always really liked about games. I think the old MMOs did that, most of them, and nowadays it's all faction-based. It's just not that interesting anymore. I still like the game after the direction changed. I just think there's something big missing. And I hope they find it again.
Yeah, and then this will be good because I did want to. We're at freedom to talk about, and this isn't necessarily in the show notes, but I think that's an important thing that we can discuss now that we have a new voice on the podcast is the direction change, and maybe I know that that's a lot of people's concerns. I think initially about the game is still retaining that that interest of that initial player base that they kind of set out to grab, which was the open world PvP group. And I do think that group of people maybe, or not maybe, it is smaller than the PvE part of the MMO community that we're so used to. But it is a group of people that are very passionate and I think very loyal to games that kind of give them what they want. And so just off the top of your guys' heads, I'm going to put you guys on the spot right now. What are some things that they can maybe not like completely reverse, but maybe push forward in that will maybe appeal or address that desire of that community that, want open world PvP that, like you said, has consequences and, provides that, I think that sense of like danger or, excitement that you get when you go out in the world and you know that you can be killed or killed anybody at any time.
So I think it's going to be challenging now for them to introduce something like that with the direction of the game currently. I think now the way that they need to introduce that is going to be maybe a separate game mode. Maybe they've already said they don't want to split the servers, they don't want to split the population, which I'm okay with not having a PvP server so long as they add some sort of game mode that does punish you, and maybe it's just like an hour long almost siege type of thing where you can go in there and take people's stuff somehow or something. I don't know. I don't know what that looks like, but I think it's going to be hard for them to revert back to add something in the actual open world experience of the MMO. I think they may just have to add some sort of game mode, instance, arena, something like that ties into that feel for the players that want that type of thing.
Yeah, it's I think it's going to be battlegrounds or scenarios that they'll try to do to appease the PvP people. But for me, I think they took off the sandbox label, they slapped on the open world label. I think it's still there, at least I haven't checked. But the open world feels pretty. It's just lacking something. It's if they have all the PvP just happening in instances, I think it's missing out on a big opportunity, for example, to do things like just objectives, like a resource, like a lumber mill or something that you can conquer for your faction, or watchtowers that they generate really tangible rewards for the people actually going out and doing PvP in open world. Because right now, or at least in the preview, the PvP was... You can PvP, but there's actually no incentive to do it. If you do the PvP missions to get XP, you're better off just avoiding any other player. If you do the PvP missions to push the territory into being able to siege the settlement, you're still, better off and more efficient just running the missions and not fighting. And I think that's really sad.
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, to both of your points, I think the challenge right now, or maybe I guess the progression that they need to show right now is the fact that I think a lot of us are aware, or most people in the community are aware, they're not reverting the game back to like an open world sandbox PvP type of thing, but providing enough features in the game to make what they do have apply to those people, or at least to the general PvP people or population within an MMO. So that I think includes both of what you're saying. They need to find a way to fix open world PvP for sure. They need to have incentivization that isn't just like, I have this quest that forces me to flag, so therefore, if I do get into PvP, then I guess, so what? But I think, taken to your point, I think a lot of people are just going to try to get those done as fast as possible and not necessarily like linger or look for PvP during the quest. And then, Bordy, I think what you said also is true. I think they do need to have some unique game modes within the game that do offer PvP outside of what they already have, which is basically just the sieges, right? They do have a 50v50 model, which is like, I would say, large-scale PvP. But, as far as like, I think what the open world PvP population looks for the most, or what I look for as a member of that population, is like small group, or even like dueling solo, like 1vx type of things, in the open world that they give you those small group fights that, test your skill and everything, and isn't just like a, Zerg fest. So I think, I think both of those things should be on the table at this point. And hopefully they feel the same way, because, I would hate, again, I think there are enough PvE MMOs out there to where New World should really not completely stray towards that. And I really hope that they do have plans to better the PvP quests and hopefully add new game modes that there is obviously focused around PvP.
Yeah, which would be nice. What if they added something whenever you're doing the undermining of the quest to kind of incentivize open world PvP, like only if you're flagged. So say you have to do a quest that you have to take a certain amount of resources from one settlement to another, right? And those resources, once you're flagged, become lootable. And just those resources, nothing else on your corpse, nothing else on your body. But to get those resources from point A to point B, you can't die, and then somebody can take them. And then that person can take them and then just keep them, or maybe turn them in for credit for their faction or whatever. But it's only those resources that are droppable. Or maybe it's some quest item you get that's a weapon or something that you have to go turn in to undermine the faction. But that weapon then becomes a droppable item that somebody can loot if they kill you. I think that might be cool.
Yeah, that'd be great. What about what if the set amount of XP is multiplied by the number of kills of other people that you do while you have the quest active? So that increases some sort of risk involved with completing the quest. So if you go out and try to get greedy and start to kill people while you have the quest, obviously we know the quest progress resets if you die. So they can do things like that. I think I do like the idea of having like a unique set of items that you have to carry during the quest that your other faction could take advantage of as well. Taken, you have any
Yeah, I like the idea with having to transport resources or having caravans or something that can be attacked, because I think that it's more interesting than having these scenarios or even the sieges being completely on rails. It's pretty much the exact same thing every single time. It's 50v50. You know exactly what to expect. You have some steps that are very set in stone. You have to capture the control point. You have to bring down the gate, and you have to capture another control point. That's all. But in the open world, anything can happen. It's a lot more interesting, I think. And also, they could just take a book out of some older games that did these things already and did pretty nice, had some interesting solutions. For example, I think Warhammer did it pretty well with having open world PvP objectives that you could just, you could run into the PvP zone and you could grab some quests, and then you had to kill X amount of players or capture a control point or something. And those things, I thought that was really good. They separated the PvE side and PvP side, but it was really easy to go back and forth and take part in the open world PvP.
Yeah, and I think to your point on looking at other games around, I think a lot of people feel like the Arc Age is, I think, the most recent game to kind of tackle this. Is the territory states, like basically like if this state is under war, this state is under conflict, et cetera, that set different guidelines and rules for open world content. And I think we've talked quite a bit about this on the show, is just having like, if a world's getting ready to be sieged and a territory is getting ready to be sieged, then that particular territory is now a war zone where there is no like flagging or anything like that. You're basically just in an open world environment that, kind of lays open to, ganking and all of those things that are fun with open world content. So yeah, I agree. And I do think obviously the game's still in development. A lot of these things can be added and should be at least looked at. And I'm sure that they're, doing that as well. Hopefully, though, we start to hear more about that in upcoming, alpha patches, which is our next topic, though. So first, we all kind of expected or are beginning to expect a monthly update from the alpha patches. This month is no different. They've started actually teasing about the next patch on Twitter or on their Twitter account with particular interesting like role playing or decision making type quest line that they're doing via Twitter. By the way, for anybody who's wondering, or at least I what seems to be that they still have open world tagged as a feature on New World. I know you mentioned that, Taken.
Did you just check?
Yeah, on Steam. It's on Steam, so I think users can also add those descriptions, so maybe it's not completely accurate. But we'll see. we'll find out, I guess. So, anyways, that was sorry. I should have done that before I started in on the transition there. My bad. So they started this out, and of course, the first tweet kind of previewed or teased at a new weapon, boys. So we are getting, I think it's easily to say this, we're getting a rapier as an active weapon. So first, what do you guys think about, this should be the third weapon that they've added since they've started this, increased development time. What do you guys think about the rapier?
Dude, I think it's awesome, man. It's right up my alley, dude. I like the rapier. And then today, just 35 minutes ago, as of the recording of this video, they also released a video of this guy running around training with the rapier, so you can see what looks to be like a one of the abilities. He uses it on a training dummy, and he kind of dashes forward and jabs like a fencing move, exactly what you would expect from a rapier. Looks really cool, man. And I'm excited because I think the rapier is going to be a dex weapon too, or at least in my mind it should be, right? It seems like it would be. So now you can have two melee dex weapons. You can have spear, rapier, and then bow, or spear, rapier, musket, or something like that. So now you can have a full dex build. That's really cool to me. I like that because before you couldn't have that in the game. So this is up my alley, dude. I like the very quick weapons with a very quick movement style. Doesn't necessarily do a ton of damage, but you get a lot of hits in, lots of mobility, lots of movement. I really enjoy that, man. So I think I'm gonna have a good time with this thing. The duelist, dude. It's gonna be dope.
Taken, you have anything to add on the rapier?
Yeah, no, I think it was being teased for some time. I think some players already knew about it for a long time. I think it was even playable at some point in the past for a very short amount of time. And yeah, we were lacking a dex weapon. I'm a little bit looking forward to seeing more ranged and magicked weapons, but I think this was one of the weapons that they still had pretty much on their list. I think there's a couple more that we already kind of speculated about.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to magic as well, and not just magic, but healing specifically, man, because they have the healing staff, and that's it. So there's got to be different variations of healing coming, right?
You would think so. And here's what's shaping out, and this is the kind of newer changes. They have recently, and I think we talked about this 2 or 3 episodes ago, and how they're kind of transitioning to the holy trinity of MMOs, which is basically, DPS, tanking roles, and of course healing. So now you're starting to see also they're fleshing out these 3 or now 4 statistics and weapons that link to them. So you just mentioned, and I think it's pretty safe to assume that the rapier is going to be a dexterity weapon. So now, as far as weapons that scale primarily off of dexterity, we have the rapier, the spear, the musket, and the bow. Now, strength-wise, we have the sword and shield, and then we have the great axe and the great hammer. So that places 3 there. Intellect, we only have the fire staff right now. And then of course focus. The only thing that scales off of focus is the healing staff. So to your guys' point, we would expect to see a lot of, or hopefully more, intellect and focus based weapons, so that we can, to Bordy's point, have these builds fleshed out that makes sense. Where if I'm spending the primary amount of statistics that I'm using to develop my character, that I'm gonna have more than one weapon to choose from. So you would think that maybe not even if it's not in this patch, in upcoming patches, we'll start to see some more weapons based around those statistics.
Yeah, I'm hoping for some more magic schools soon.
Yeah.
Like we already see, we have all these different effects on weapons. We have mobs that have all kinds of different magic types. So I think they'll be coming for players at some point.
So
yeah, I would hope so. Void, lightning, all that type of stuff, man. Be dope. Hey, man, ice. I want some ice magic, dude.
Ice magic. That's traditional. Okay, so let me ask you guys this, because this I think is a very important thing, and this kind of, I guess, ties in the show mostly. So as we know, New World's pivoting away from this survival, open world, what your traditional like Rust or 7 Days to Die, or those games that even we've been playing, Lost Oasis, that have very simplistic combat, that doesn't have a lot of abilities or skills and things like that. The combat's basically more of a tie-in to the actual, survival crafting elements of the game versus like a feature. Now that New World's kind of pivoting to more of an MMO feel, what do you guys think about the general or the current stat, build that they have in place, where basically there's just only these 4 main stats, and then of course your constitution. One of my, I guess, jumping off points in the conversation is, one of my thoughts is, now that we're fleshing out these more in-depth builds and everything like that, do these statistics need to be more detailed so that, if they do start to get more weapons in, it doesn't make sense, or it makes sense for us to be able to, diversify our builds, not just with the weapons we're yielding, but the way we spend our statistic points, for instance. So Dex would not only just have, more increased damage with dexterity weapons, and strength just doesn't, completely or only solitarily provide more attack damage on your strength weapons. Shouldn't they be doing something else now that we're kind of pivoting to a more MMO type of feel?
Honestly, I'm surprised we get to spend those points at all. Most games don't let you do that anymore. I think those attributes are fine, more or less. What I would like to see, though, is not having so much choice for weapons, that not being able to carry 3 at a time, because you see a few weapons that everybody carries. Like in the preview, it was the life staff, just because of vulnerability. Or bring in some requirements that, to be able to use the life staff, you should have so and so much focus. Otherwise, it just becomes it becomes a little bit weird, like seeing a Dex build running around with always having a caster staff.
Exactly.
And the other thing that I hope we see at some point is more interesting skill trees, because right now, I think every weapon has 6 active abilities. Often there's some very clear choices. In some cases, there are choices that are absolutely not viable at all in any situation. And I hope they'll go back and fix those at some point, and maybe rework the trees entirely. Because this mastery system, it's nice for the first 20 levels of a weapon, but then it doesn't matter anymore. You maxed out and that's it. It would be nice to be able to keep getting XP for each weapon indefinitely or for a very long time, and just get very, very minor upgrades out of that. Like similar to, like, for example, Albion Online, where you can get you can increase your item power for a very long time by maxing out different weapons within each category.
Yeah.
So you can be very specialized in one thing, basically. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think to your point, and I think this is very important. For the longevity of New World and the interest in, as far as when you're building out a character and you're kind of making these decisions, once you reach endgame, a lot of the decisions don't mean as much as I think they probably should if you're trying to build out a more group-based MMO. So if I'm a dexterity based person, obviously I'm going to max out Dex as much as I can, and then maybe focus on a little bit of Constitution. And to your point, most of my dexterity weapons are probably maxed out at that point. So even at like probably level 30 or 40, unless they change the amount of XP game you gain in the weapon mastery system, you're already, you've already unlocked the potential of your weapon. So if you're dedicated to whatever statistic you're trying to build around, I think, or I think the question should be like, what am I doing in the next or the last bit of the character development stages, like when it goes to like 50 to 60 or 40 to 60, as far as, stat choices and character build choices. I'm not sure there are a lot right now, unless there are some changes.
Well, how is it in other MMOs whenever you max out, whenever you hit max level?
Well, typically,
I mean, is there really that many more choices to make once you hit in game in other MMOs? I think because once you're maxed out, you're kind of maxed out, right? And then you play the game, and then you explore the content and the high level content, and wait until the next big content update.
Sure. So one of the 2 best examples I can think of, and one of them isn't very popular, but it's worth mentioning. I think Elder Scrolls Online has the champion point system where you're constantly like taking, it's almost infinite development. They do have it capped out as far as what you can spend right now, but there is a lot of increased choices as far as what your character builds and everything like that goes. One of my favorite things, and one of the things I hope New World explores in the future, is what World of Warcraft does right now, and then also technically, I think Elder Scrolls Online does it, Final Fantasy XIV does it, a lot of the popular ARPGs do it, is itemization, group, or excuse me, your set bonuses or legendaries, items that give you abilities or active abilities or passive abilities that completely change the way your character, builds and grows. I think that's something they can just add on right away without having to completely redo the stat system or the character building system. What are your guys' thoughts on set bonuses and things like that keep people grinding for gear drops and also, diversify the builds inside of the game?
I think it's fine, dude. I like set bonuses. I like the way ESO does their set bonuses, in all honesty. I find that pretty enjoyable, man, because then you can just go grind for different gear all the time and then mix and match those set bonuses to try to optimize your character to fit your playstyle. I really enjoy that, man. I think adding set bonuses to New World would probably work pretty good. And to your point about adding on like additional stats like run speed to dex or something like that, which I think is where you're going with that previously, I think instead of doing that, maybe the set bonuses would compensate for that. So like if you're trying to go a very light build with extra movement speed, maybe you get a movement speed buff from having some sort of set bonus. I think that'd be pretty dope, dude. I like that.
And I guess something that would work out too, and more along the lines of what Taken was saying, was maybe the set bonuses, the requirements to equip them are not level, but more along the lines of like statistics requirements. So if I'm going to equip this particular helmet that has this, increased dodge roll or whatever, then I have to have, at least 200 dexterity or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
I forgot how we got here now. Well, we're talking about the tweets, right? Taken, you have anything to add on the current character diversification? I think you're the one that started the conversation. So
no, not really. I hope they do a little bit more with it than what they have right now. But if they launch like this, it will be fine for the first couple of months or a year or whatever. And then I'm sure they'll come up with something like champion points, alternate advancement, or whatever.
Right, and that's a great segue, Taken. You're already quickly learning about podcasting. So the updates. So now, as we push towards launch, and this will be the third group of patch notes we've gotten on New World. Obviously, we haven't seen them yet, but we definitely know that one of the main things they're going to add is a weapon. So first question on this is, now that we see the pace of which they're adding content to the game during this kind of lull period, or still, I think they consider it to be the alpha testing period. May is coming, boys. May is actually now only 4 months away. So what are your guys' thoughts on the amount of content and the type of content they're adding to the game? And do you guys still think that, given the current pacing, are we still set for a May launch date?
Go ahead, Taken.
This is a very
I don't know, man.
question.
I don't know. I don't even know what I want, honestly. I'm not sure if I want the game out as soon as possible, or if I want them to delay again and do it right. Because I don't think that it will be, a fully fleshed out MMO by the time May comes around. I'm not entirely sure what happened with all this stuff, with the previous release dates. I can only speculate that I think after they changed the direction, they had a pretty strict deadline when to finish the game. It was just dictated. And they've probably been trying to get it delayed while they were working towards launch. And they got it delayed for 3 months, which obviously wasn't enough. And then they got it delayed again for, I think, 9 months. But I can imagine the dev team was fighting pretty hard to get these dates pushed back. Because they must have known how much is missing, because they're just now adding a lot of stuff that you would expect an MMO to have at launch. Looking at these 2 patch notes, I see zero mention of PvP, so I'm hoping that the next couple months they still have something coming there. Other than that, I think I think the one of the main strengths of this game is the monthly updates. So if they keep these coming, I think we'll be in a good position at some point in 21.
Yeah, and that's again great, because I think that's worth talking about. Now, this is one of the things that I think is worth mentioning, and Taken already mentioned it, is the fact that the pace in which they are technically adding new content to the game, and these aren't just like, oh, we added like a weapon and that was it. These are pretty extensive patch notes for alpha updates, and they're not just happening like once every 6 months or once a year. These are monthly updates, and if they do launch on time, which I at this point think that they will, whether it be under our standards or anybody else's standards of what it makes a complete MMO, I do think that they are going to continue to work on the game at this pace. Do you guys have any thoughts on that? What are live clients going to look like? And do you think it's even possible for them to keep up this pacing as far as, the game being live and having players playing and breaking things? Do you think they'll still be able to add this amount of content on this regular of a basis, or?
I think if they really stick to May, I think we'll see 1 or 2 more big updates, and then they'll probably have to polish and bug fix and get ready with server infrastructure and stuff like this, like we've seen with the preview. I think they took quite a lot of effort just doing the preview event.
Yeah, I mean, I would hope that they can still continue at some point to pump out content like they're pumping it out. But I want to go back to your previous question too, real fast, and then tie it into this question as well. Is that I think for me, in terms of a May release date, it depends on what they pump out on this January and February updates. Right now, we've seen a lot of good changes, but the only changes we've seen are the addition of weapons. We've seen some UI fixes, and then we've seen some overall changes to combat, and that's really been the main focus, it seems like, of these last two big updates, which is a lot. I mean, obviously they're very hard at work because they've changed a ton of stuff with the game and added a lot of new stuff. But I think if we don't see some huge major like content updates within January and February, I think it's likely to get delayed again, man, because that's what the game is missing, and they know that. They've addressed that. It's missing a lot of content. It's missing a lot of mid to late game content. So if we don't get that between January and February, then I'm going to start getting a little concerned that it's going to get delayed. If we do get that, then I guess it just depends on what it is as to whether or not I'm excited to see it drop in May or not, because I do want a fully fleshed out, awesome experience on release, because we all know what can happen to an MMO if they have a crappy release, right? This day and age, man, you have a crappy release and it's hard to recover. It can be done, but I think it's even more so now hard to recover now than it was even whenever ESO had their debacle and then they pushed forward and made a very popular game. I think now, dude, people just don't have patience like that anymore. They just see a game that's flopped and they move on to the next thing. There's too many options out there. So I hope that whatever they do, they get it right. And I hope we see some major content moving forward. And then in terms of how much they're going to post moving, or how much content they're going to post moving forward, I think maybe they need to take a little bit of look at ESO, for example. They post so much or publish so much new content on such a regular basis that I hope New World can maintain that. But I think Taken's probably right. I think that in the beginning they'll probably have to backtrack a little bit and polish and bug fix and whatever before they start getting on a really good cadence. But I would hope at some point we see very regular updates for New World. And they have said they have a 10-year plan for this game, that they want this game to be a long-lasting MMO. So hopefully that'll be the case, man.
Yeah, so I think that's to your point on the game, and depending on what type of content they add is a great thing to remember, because like you had mentioned, they are, and it does appear that they are kind of adding those things that we already knew was going to be in the game. Like Taken said, we already know a lot of these weapons were probably in the works already. They're just kind of finishing up the skill trees and then putting them in the game. And if we're, playing the devil's advocate on the point of they haven't added any content yet, most likely if they've started developing that mid to end game content at the time of the preview event, then that's going to take quite a bit longer than just, fleshing out a skill line on a weapon. So if we are going to see some mid to end game content. I think it's going to be in the upcoming months, like potentially this one, this particular update in January, but February and I think even March is probably safe to continue to add content. But to Taken's point, I think April will probably need to be focused on, making sure it's not I hate to throw this dig at cyberpunk situation where there's just 50,000 bugs in the game that makes the game unplayable. So what do you guys think? So mid to end game content is a pretty open thing, and I hate to this will be our last topic before we close. I don't want to keep you long, Taken. I know your time is precious over there in Spain, so I don't want to waste it. What do you guys think about, we haven't seen these patch notes yet, so we could even include this patch. Is it possible for them to add enough of the mid to end game content within a 2-month period to where you guys would feel safe or feel good about them launching in May?
Who knows, man? I have no idea what they're working on. So maybe they've had a lot of stuff under the wraps that they're working on that they just haven't released, or maybe not. Maybe we'll get in January hey guys, here's a new weapon and a new zone, and that's it. Dude, I have no idea. I think it maybe is possible. It just depends on what they've been doing behind the scenes, and we'll know soon, I guess.
Taken.
Yeah, also no idea. I don't even know because we haven't seen any endgame content. It's the only thing they have is the arenas and some open world kind of dungeons that didn't work that well in a group because of some mechanics. I think they've gone back and, like, for example, put in a threat system, things like that, what you pretty much need for a dungeon group, for example.
Right.
So I'm not sure how endgame content would even look like in a game with these kind of action combat controls. Is it possible to just cheese the high-end encounters, for example, which is much more difficult in like a tap target system? I don't know. So whatever they put in now, they still need to flesh it out and test it and make sure it's actually good quality content. But it's not just this type of content. It's also like the game doesn't even have a real story at the moment, like a cohesive quest from start to finish where you follow along and you actually know what's going on in the world, unless you go out and look for all these lore pages and read them, which I don't do that. I'm not sure how many players do that.
Sure, Medieval does.
Yes,
Taken.
That he did 2 pretty good videos. I was just going to mention that unless you watch those, I don't think you know much about the background or history of the game when you're playing.
Well, sure they do, because they listened to our last episode where we talked about 1700 history.
Listen, man. Yeah, we absolutely crushed that one, Red. I'll tell you that,
hey,
dude.
You were asleep, Bordy, for the episode. Okay, so yeah, we'll stop messing around. But to your point, I agree. The story, and again, they've transitioned now, and we keep kind of, I guess, poking at them at this point, but they've now transitioned to an MMO. And so what do you expect out of most MMOs that are usually lacking in like the crafting survival games? And that's a storyline, characters that you care about. It matters, like, a dungeon boss or a raid boss. Who am I fighting? Why am I fighting them? What are they doing to cause me to have to murder them, et cetera, et cetera. So these are things that we do expect them to add, or I would expect them to add before launch. And to your guys' point, I think that's something that we should definitely be looking for in this patch and next patch, because dude, May is around the corner, and there's no doubt about that. All right, let me see. Anything else you guys want to add on the content release schedule that they have?
Nope, not for me, man. I think we've covered it, dude.
All right. Well, before we close up here, Bordy, why don't we go from the New World fans again? Taken's here, so you guys have to go check out this company this week, and it's the Nuclear Brothers over there on the Company of the Week.
Yeah, man. So let's take a look here. The Nuclear Brothers, they are an EU an EU company. Their faction's undecided. Language is English. Focus is PvX. Size 51 plus. They are currently recruiting. They have a very simple recruitment page here. It looks like they're just going to be very community focused and want to enjoy the game together as a group. It just says, "Welcome to Nuclear Brothers Clan. We're a gaming community of players that we all play together and respect each other and have a lot of fun." They have a nice community that you're going to want to come back to time and time again, and they just have a place where everybody is welcome. So it seems like they're just more about building a community of people to enjoy the game together versus really focusing and honing in on specific aspects of the game. So that is called the Nuclear Brothers. We'll make sure we link all of their information in the show notes below and in the YouTube description.
And again, guys, we thank you for going over to New World Fans and creating your company accounts. If you want your company promoted on the episode or another episode of New World to go, go hop over to New World Fans, create an account, and create your company detail, and we will potentially feature you on one of our episodes. Taken, dude, it's been a blast. We'll have to do this more frequently now that we've forced you to do one. I think now it'll be easier to do more. We
finally got over the hump, dude. It took us 50 episodes, man.
Yeah, I know.
Dude, this is episode 50. How crazy is that?
Yeah. And it's been, like a year, pretty much, exactly? Or when did you guys start?
Yeah,
we've done it every week, so yeah, almost a year.
Yeah, it's been crazy. It's went by fast, to be honest about it. Obviously, the delay made things challenging, but we put in our 15 to 20 minute episodes occasionally. Let's be fair, but we made it. Episode 50. It's been a blast. Taken. Thanks for joining us, brother. And as always, dude, we appreciate you, man. It's good to have good people around talking about New World, and we know you're excited, just as excited as we are about the game. So, guys, if you haven't checked out New World Fans yet, what are you doing? Go over to the New World Fans. We have a map, articles, database, everything you'd want for New World, and that'll continue to be updated up into and after launch. Hopefully, we have a lot to update. You know what I'm saying, boys? A lot to update in the next coming.
It's going to be a lot of work, I think.
Well, let's not think about that right now. Okay, Taken. We're celebrating. This is episode 50. Let's not talk about how many articles we're gonna have to write between now and then. All right. Well, guys, it's been a blast. Thanks for joining us, Taken, and thank you guys for listening. And we'll see you on episode 51 of New World to Go.